What up, buddies? It's Concert Buddy. This video is going to be part 2 of the conversation that I had recently with Rob over at Northern Revolutions about our first year of making videos in the VC, things we've learned, our experiences, thought processes, blah, blah, blah. The link, if you want to watch, if you haven't watched the first part, I'll put a card up here somewhere. Again, this always looks weird if you don't watch it on mobile. Anyway, part 1 will be up there if you'd like to check that out. But this is part 2 of the conversation. I hope you find it fruitful, informative, interesting, entertaining, worth your time. And let's just get right into it. After the break, part 2. Check it out. Mazzy had made a comment once, and I think it's very true, about the VC is kind of like high school. Yes. In the sense, and he used the analogy of, and he was talking more when he started his channel and the people that started about the same time. He was comparing it to like your class in school, right?
Bueller.
It's absolutely true. And I really thought, that was very, insightful, because it's true. And I look at it a very similar way. This is my first year doing this, your first year doing this. Christian, CGC Vinyl Guy, I think it's his first year. So I do think, and I agree with the sentiment, and I think that's spot on. Again, as tip of the cap. But then it got me thinking, the VC, like life, is kind of a cross section of people from different backgrounds, experiences, interests, and all that stuff. And just like high school, right? You have, different personalities. You've got, different channels of different sizes, different interests, different focuses, different stages of their development, different cliques or subgroups.
It is clicky. That's for
sure. So that's me really throwing the meatloaf at you. Do you agree with that? And have you noticed that as well?
There is your school analogy is a great one, because there are cliques. And I'm not going to throw out any names, but
and not saying click in a bad way, just saying there are people who kind of gravitate to different groups for different reasons, right? It's nothing like.
And I noticed that there, in my mind, there's a group of senior members, shall we say, that are always doing things together. Fantastic. And I look up at them and I feel like the kindergartner or the grade one, or you know what I mean? And looking at the big kids that know what the hell they're doing. And and I'm still learning, how
to walk and chew gum at the same time. Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But by the same token, I like in kindergarten, you find your little group of friends, and I've somehow found my little group of people that are, like-minded, or we share common interests, and they're always the people that I always watch their videos. They always watch my videos. Sure. We're starting to do collaborative stuff together, and I feel like they're my people.
Yeah, no, I agree with it, and I think
you being part of that group, by the way.
Well, what's that saying? Your tribe is your vibe, right?
Exactly.
I think that's true. And I will say, and it's kind of been a little soft joke on the Rachel's Ghost stream. Shout out. Rachel is one of my favorite people in the VC.
She's wonderful.
Encouraging. Yeah. Helps channels, not just mine, but it's great.
Everybody.
But it's a little soft joke, and it's kind of true about the new VC, right? And but I think that the reason the joke is funny is because there's degrees of truth to it, that there are different, like what's that saying? There are different levels to this, and that's true in a lot of different ways. The worst, and I will say, and I'm not going to call out any channels, but there are, like you hit on, the superiority is not the right word, but there are people whose motivations are different. Correct. Right? Like some people are into building a personal brand and want to, really get as many, build their own community and all that stuff. More power to them. I don't vibe like that, but whatever. There's people who are promoting their business. They've got a brick and mortar, or they're doing an online thing. Right. Great. So, but yeah, it's very interesting that you've noticed that too, because like I said, it's a little soft joke, but the joke is funny because
it is.
It's true, right?
Yep.
Funny. Let's see. Okay, so here's a good question for you. So you said this kind of in the beginning, you're not in it to make money, you're not in it to views, subscribers, but do you have any goals or aims for your channel?
I absolutely do. And it's a goal that I never thought would even be a goal. And it's a goal not for the reason that you would think it is. My goal now, and again, this kind of contradicts what I said earlier. I'd like to get to 1,000 subscribers.
Okay.
Only not because of monetization, couldn't care less. And I know I said I have trouble wrapping my head around the fact that I have subscribers. And that's true. I can't believe I'm at almost 700 right now. I can't believe 700 people hit that subscribe button, meaning that they'd like to hear me say something else at some point in time.
Sure.
Right. I can't fathom
totally
that.
relate. Mm-hmm.
And it's, for me, the subscriber number is I don't think of it as, and again, I hope this as an area, I don't think of it as, there's 700 people. I think of it kind of like your odometer on your car. You know what I mean? That it's kind of, it measures the journey, so to speak,
yeah, okay.
right?
Yeah.
And YouTube has set 1,000 as a milestone for, economic reasons. I just think that that's a cool number. The fact that, if I can hit that at some point in time, fantastic. If I don't, whatever. It doesn't matter. But it's just kind of a neat milestone. Only because, it's a hard thing to get to, and, not everybody does. And yeah.
No, it's fair. I will echo what you said. I think, well, first of all, I'm a competitive person by nature. I worked for arguably the biggest competitive company. I worked for the Swoosh for a couple of years. So it's ingrained. It was ingrained before I worked there and obviously after I worked there. So yeah, I can appreciate what you said there, being transparent about. Yeah, it's like if you're training for something, like you haven't. Right. What is something that's keeping your legs moving forward, keeping the ball moving forward? And yeah, I think it's just human nature to me that it's reasonable. Like at one time, 500 subs was the goal, right?
Originally it was 100. I'm like 100. 100 people are not going to care,
right? But I think it's, and we'll talk about this here in a little bit, but if people are thinking about doing this themselves, I think it's great to share that the numbers thing it's part of it.
Yes.
Because it keeps you going, it inspires you, it motivates you, it gives you a target, all those things.
Right.
But just as importantly, and I think we touched on it just a touch earlier, you got to be careful not to obsess about it or dwell on it or make that your end. You don't want to lose sight of why you enjoy this or got into it in the first place, right? Because, and some of the big, like Michael 45 said this to me on a live stream. He's like, you can't worry about, it was part of the conversation, but he's like, you can't worry about sub counts and all that stuff. And it's true.
And I also should have said, and I think I said it earlier, I'm always trying to improve too. So I'm always trying to do it a little bit better than I did it the last time.
Yeah,
so that's the other thing too, is I just want my videos to get better and better and better. And I mean, I might go for a long time before I do anything that improves it. And it's not for lack of effort, but I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know what the next step is to make it better. I need to work on lighting. We've established this already.
Sure.
I shoot my videos on an iPhone, and I've got a digital SLR sitting here. I'd like to figure out how to use that so that I could get a little bit better video quality. Things like that. I always want to make it better. So in addition to that arbitrary milestone, the continued improvement in the acquisition of skills, I think, is actually probably more important. But it's not a tangible, like, when I reach this, I will have reached that goal. It's just kind of the ongoing objective, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's human nature. I think it's if you use it in a healthy way as a motivating tool, makes a lot of sense. Now, I will say, so the next topic, similar to that, because I just went through this. I just ran a contest magically, and through no coercion, You were one of the winners, which I was happy about.
I know, which was awesome. And I don't even enter those to win. I don't care about the winning part.
No, I'm the same way. What's cool is a lot of people say the same thing, and I genuinely believe it. Like, to me, it's the spirit of supporting another channel or an interesting contest idea. Now, I say that, Rob, and I don't know if you've heard this, but I'm retiring from contests.
Really?
Because, well, this is where I got caught up in the numbers. A couple things. I'm going to totally be candid here. My goal for my contest was to hit 500 subs.
Right. And
I lost my way a little bit. Now that I'm a couple weeks out, I've kind of got over the butt hurtness. I'm not hitting that goal, right?
I am butt hurt.
At 500, I didn't hit it, and I was like, son of a bitch. But kind of lost my way because I got too, like we talked about earlier, got too focused on the numbers thing. It's part of it, but it's not all of it.
Right.
But then I've entered some contests, and again, I don't enter them to win. I could care less. I really, honestly, I'm blessed. I could care less.
Right.
Like somebody wants to VCLT me, or if I win a contest, great. But it's not why I do it. It's not why I do the contest thing. It's to support other channels. That's why I like my contest. I was just trying.
I loved it for that reason.
Just shout out other channels, for the algorithm or for whatever reason, these channels aren't getting the air, the light. So like, let's, the rising of the tide lifts all boats. That was my focus, right? Anyway, I could do a whole 55 minutes on my contest butt hurtness, but in short, it was that it didn't, I didn't hit that number, so I was butthurt about that. But then I've entered some contests in the past year that didn't win them, and that wasn't a big deal. But a couple of contests I entered, and my entrance, my submission video, whatever you want to call it, didn't get checked. In terms of like I followed the rules, turned it in. So this is not sour grapes. This is more of like, it's very frustrating when you spend the time to make these contest videos, and then for whatever reason, they don't get acknowledged, not because you made the best video ever, but just like, so anyway, I talked to Brandon, like I said at the beginning, I went to lunch with Brandon recently, and we were talking about it, and he kind of gave me a reality check in a positive way. He's very encouraging that way. And he's like, how many people for your contest? How many people did you get participate? And I was like, I don't know, total all in. Some did videos, some didn't. 60 something. He's like, that's fantastic. That's really great. And I was like, so then I was like, all right, Chance, take a chill pill. But then I shared the point about, well, I've entered a couple contests, and they didn't even see my entry. And he's like, you know what? That's happened to me too. And I talked to some other people, and it's so here's to put a bow on this. Why I'm retiring from contests. Still a little butthurt.
I am butthurt,
but also, I think I can do what I'm trying to do in contests in my normal videos or live stream, or I jump on Rachel's stream, I think earlier this week. And I was talking about a channel called Vinyl Reckoning, who I think does nice work. I don't know if you've ever seen his stuff. It's Matt and Stacy.
Yep.
And I know he would love to grow his channel. So that's how I'm going to accomplish a lot of and I still may jump in a contest here or there, but point is that the numbers thing is real. And I think it's natural, but you can't let it, not control, but you can't let it decide or dictate.
It's easy to distract you from why you're actually doing it.
100%. Yeah. So I'm telling all myself, everybody, the butthurt is real. The butthurt is over. I'm a couple weeks removed. I'm glad Rob, and I got to Rod, the happy hippie guy, was a winner. Music Talk with John, and people genuinely means a lot that people did take the time to make videos to do the contest. And I got to connect directly with some channels I'd watched and never really interacted direct, like Andy at Next Play Records and all that kind of stuff. So as I'm getting out of the disappointment and not hitting a stupid goal.
It's funny you should mention that, because I did my contest, I think about 6 months in.
That's why I asked. I wanted to ask like your thoughts on your contest.
And I didn't do it for a subscriber count, and I think I said that in my video. And I called it the Get to Know You contest.
That's right.
Only because I wanted people to get to know me. That's it. And the questions were: shout out a channel that has less subscribers than you do, for the same reason that you talked about. And I wanted people to share, it was like 5 records that you have an emotional connection with, and tell the story about why that's important. Because so much of why I have the records I have, and I've mentioned this in videos, but I've never really told the full story. But my dad was a most important person in my world until my son was born. And he was a vinyl record collector, and
Abbey Road, I remember from your first video, right?
Music and records were something he and I really shared, and he died 13 years ago, quite unexpectedly and in a quite horrific fashion. So it sort of, music and records tie me to him. I have 2 pictures of him on my wall that look at me as I'm sitting here at my desk.
What's your dad's name?
Robert, same as me.
Oh, okay. So are you a junior?
Not a junior.
Okay, got it.
Thankfully. Although my wife calls me that when she's mad at me.
I understand.
So anyway, long story short, that's the contest to me was more about getting to know people and whatever. And you really put yourself out there when you do these things. And it's kind of like going back to the school thing. Will people like me? That's, and on the very first day of my contest, Brandon was the first person that did an entry, and he was ultimately the guy that won. And then there was nothing. And I'm like, I'd check every day. Oh my God, no one's going to do it. Nobody likes me, all of that kind of shit.
Sure.
And then in the last 2 weeks, it exploded, and I had a huge, a ton of people that contributed, and all the videos were wonderful. And it was some of the most fun I had, but I can understand the butthurt thing. And I thought that was going to be that. And I was like, oh, if this doesn't pan out, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Cause but it all worked out. So
yeah, no, I think your comparison to like school and when we're younger, it's apples to apples, right? There are those little traumas are the wrong word, but those experiences that do tie back to like, am I doing something wrong? Like, right. And
why again, don't they like me?
Right. I mean, there is some degrees of vanity and acceptance with it, but like I said, Brandon was great, gave me some great feedback. Rachel, when I was on the stream, I made it a joke because that's how I usually diffuse things, is just like make a joke out of it, even if I'm the butt of the joke, it's okay. Yep. But she gave me some good feedback, and that's something, again, first year of doing this, first contest I've ever done, first contest you've ever done.
Yep.
It's a learning process. And so I would not discourage anybody from doing a contest, running a contest, entering a contest. I think it's a valuable experience, provided, you come out of it feeling like you've improved, learned, won. I don't know, like however it's important to you, right?
Right. Realistic expectations, I guess.
That's a great way to put it. All right. So I've got some lightning round questions, but the last one I want to hit on before we get there is kind of the spirit of this conversation in a lot of ways was, again, if there's people who are like us sitting on the sidelines thinking about making videos of their own, but just haven't done it yet. And maybe they're like, yep, 2023 is the year, whatever. Is there some advice or something you've learned or wisdom or trials and tribulations that you would feel the first thing you would want to share with somebody who is kind of hesitant about doing this, in terms of you should do it? Like, what would you say to them?
To take a line from the swoosh, just do it. Just do it. It's your first one's gonna be terrible.
That's right.
But don't be deterred by that.
That's right.
You're never gonna get better if you don't start from somewhere. And you're going to be nervous as hell the first time you do it, and you're going to stumble, and it's going to be whatever, and you're going to think it's crap, but just do it.
You can do it.
I remember, like I said, I was going to do it, and then I wasn't going to do it, and then when I saw Chris do it, I'm like, okay. He said he's going to watch it, so all right, I'm going to do it.
You can do it.
And, I can do what he just did. No problem. So I did, and it sort of snowballed.
Sure.
Once I got the first one up and I got it uploaded and a few people watched it, I'm like, oh, okay, I got another idea. And then the ideas came so fast that I had like 20 ideas in my head, and I'm like, holy man, I was for the first couple months, I was churning out videos like every 2 to 3 days.
You were a content machine there for a minute. I got to admit it.
I was, just because I'm like, I got all these ideas and I want to get them out. And now I do one a week because, I work for a living and I have a 6-year-old son, and it takes time. I mean, for me to make a 15-minute video with all the planning and the shooting and the editing, and
a couple hours
it takes me about 4 hours roughly, 3 to 4 hours. It depends,
Yeah.
but it's it's a lot of work. But just do it, and the ideas will come, and you'll get better at it. Just do it.
You can do it.
No,
Don't be afraid of what people think. If you're afraid of what people think, more people will like you than won't.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think you said it earlier, and I'm going to borrow it, realistic expectations.
Yeah.
And I think as long as you're authentic in your presentation, you can learn to speak better. You can learn through practice, right? It's just about getting reps. Like, it's just, I'll borrow a sports analogy, right? Like, you got to practice. And the only way you practice is you're not going to make a bunch of videos that you don't show anybody. Maybe you do. I don't know. But if you're going to make videos anyway, the best to me, and I saw other videos, and obviously you just kind of hit on it, get the reps yourself. Make those videos. The first one's going to be terrible. You're going to cringe. I think Michael 45 even said, somebody asked him once, do you watch your old videos? He's like, no. And I think, especially the early ones, right? I think to each of their own, and if you can learn something from watching your old stuff, like, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. I'm just saying, for me, it was a necessary step up the ladder of.
I do watch them from time to time, and not for vanity reasons. It's to see what I did then versus what I do now.
Sure.
And hope that gives me some insight of maybe what I can improve next. And also, I mean, so I'm working. I shot a video today, doing my first product review.
Oh, did you get a seed sample from somebody?
I got a sample of a product from somebody that they wanted me to evaluate.
Hey.
So that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
That was a big YouTube moment for me. So I was doing that. But the point of that is, that's for me is video number 94. and I joined on January the 28th last year. So I'll have 100 videos in a year. So I've forgotten a lot of the stuff that I've done videos about.
Sure.
So I'll go back and go, I didn't even remember that I did that video. Or some of them, the early ones, I'll go back because I actually enjoy the stories that I told. I don't mean to say, it's not like I sit here and watch my old videos because I'm, that vain. But I might go back and watch parts of an old one, maybe once or twice a month or whatever. Or if there's a topic that I'm going to do that's similar to something else I've done, or, sometimes I watch a lot of YouTube outside of my own videos, and you have the YouTube app on my TV. And, when I'm scrolling through things, occasionally I'll come across my own YouTube.
Oh,
feed,
sure.
And my son will go, Daddy, can we watch you? If you want to. My son gets a kick out of it. Half the time he likes it, and half the time he couldn't care less. But something, Daddy, so, watch my own sometimes, but not for vanity reasons.
So is your son also named Robert?
That's his middle name.
Oh, okay.
That's his middle name.
It's funny you said that, because my son's 17, and
wow.
he like kind of indoctrinated me into the YouTube thing, especially during COVID. Like, we were watching a lot of watching a lot of like video game chasing, people who would go like thrifting, hunting for video games, that sort of thing. And like for a while there, he was watching my videos. And then, and I always thought he was, right. And it's funny is, so like we have it on our TV, we have like an Apple TV and yada, yada. And so I just happened to, like, he had left his login signed in one time, and I was getting ready to close it out. And I'm like, I'm just curious. How much of my videos is he watching? Well, I could tell you he stopped watching a while ago, and it was like, so I kind of joshed him about it. I'm like, oh, hey, thanks for the support, pal. I can't even get my own kid to watch myself. But
my wife watched the first dozen and then has never watched another one since. She's an ardent supporter.
Oh,
she's always coming up with, hey, how about you do this idea or whatever. She makes my shirts.
Okay.
Yours is in the mail.
Oh, thanks.
And I got yours. Thank you.
Awesome.
But yeah, she was all gung-ho for the first, month or so, and then no interest anymore of actually watching the videos. And I asked her one day, she goes, I listen to you talk all goddamn day. What do I want to watch you on TV for? I said, that is a good point.
Hey, my wife, same thing. My wife's supportive. She's the one to kind of help me Bambi legs at the beginning of this. She gets the notifications because she'll ask me, it was a month or two ago, and she asked me a question about a record I just got. And I was like, well, it's funny. If you had watched my video that I just did, like, you'd know how I feel about this. And so she's like, well, I get the notification. So then there'll be times, like, especially I try to release my videos like on Sundays.
Right.
And at least develop some kind of schedule, right? I do them earlier in the week if I can, and yeah. But yeah, so sometimes it'll be in the evening time, and I've already released it. I've replied to some comments by that point. She's like, "Hey, can you throw on the Concert Buddy video?" I'm like, "Sure." So I'm like, "We gotta make sure that you're in your account, though. I need that view, so I need your account.
Nice.
Don't use it for my anyway." So I feel you on that, but it's all in good fun. All right,
I'm trying to get my wife to come on a video.
You should.
Well, my good pal Mike over at MGK Boston,
Okay,
he's doing a contest.
yes,
And his wife was in the video.
Patty, is that?
Patty, yeah.
Okay, I saw Rachel and her partner do that too.
Right.
So yeah, so that's how I knew about. Okay.
So funny story. Mike lives in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
I live in Southern Ontario. We got talking one day. His wife is from the city that I live in, and her parents still live here. Isn't that a small world? Man? Crazy.
Awesome.
And I'm like 14 hours away from Boston. Hilarious.
That's
Her parents live about 10 minutes away from me. Crazy. Anyway, so I said to Mike, I said, obviously I've got to do this. You and your wife running a contest. I said, I got to do this. So I said to my wife, will you do this with me? Her answer, not in a million years. So I'm like, all right, I got to find a way to do a video. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do me, and I'm going to, like, in post-production, I'm just going to sort of Photoshop Susanna Hoffs here as my fantasy wife.
Make sure after that video comes out, you at least have a divorce attorney in the back pocket, because it may not land as well as you.
No, my wife's cool with it. She goes, yeah, that's a great idea. She goes, because Susanna Hoffs will never give you the time of day. And I went, that's true.
That's fair. That's
true.
Fun.
For those that don't know, Susanna Hoffs, the lead singer of the Bangles.
Oh, I knew that. Well,
but there are people that might not know that.
This is true.
You look pretty.
What did you say?
I said you look shitty. Good night, Denise.
Let's do the lightning round stuff.
I'm ready.
All right. So, which one do I lead off with? So you already talked about your family thinks about your YouTube stuff. So that kind of takes that one out of the way.
Okay.
So when you shop for records,
yep,
online and shops, wherever you go, how do you approach it? Do you have like a dedicated Discogs list? Do you have like grails in your head? Are you like a know it when you see it type of?
Yes, and yes. I have a
which one of those would you say you lead in with more than the other two?
Generally, I'm looking for sort of newer releases. That's usually the thing. That's what I gravitate to first.
Okay.
Most of what I buy now are new records.
Interesting. All right.
So I always have the grails in the back of my mind, but unfortunately, most of my grails now are very expensive, and I'm probably not going to find them.
Yeah, you do kind of reach that point where it's the dollar threshold, the pain tolerance, the financial pain tolerance.
Right. Thankfully, I already own my holiest of holy grails, and I've
is that the butcher cover?
The
or?
butcher cover, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. Before we move to the next one, there's a local shop that I go to all the time. It's one of my honey hole places, and I was actually at another shop nearby, and I heard them talking, and they're like, "Oh, it's such and such. They just sold a Second State butcher cover for $1,000." And I was like, "Oh, okay, it's like a decent price." So next time I went into the honey hole shop, I talked to the owner. He's 77. He's owned it forever. And I said, "Yeah, I heard that you sold a butcher cover the other day." He goes, "I did." And I said, "Seemed like a good price." He's like, "Yeah, couldn't turn down the money." He's like, "It's the most beautiful one. I've been doing this over 40 something years. Most beautiful one I've ever seen in my life." And I was like, "Wow." So then, you know what? Next thing I thought of, why didn't I buy it for $1,000? I didn't even know it was there. You know, and so anyway, I mean that
$1,000 is a good price for
it's
one.
A great price. It's a great price. And if he is saying it was the cleanest he's seen in 40 years, and he used to have shops all over town, he's consolidated into one, he's got warehouses. Like it was definitely like
I've only ever seen two in my life, and I own one of them.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, so there's that one. So we touched on this next one a little bit, but are there any other channels under the radar that you feel should get a push shout out? And I obviously talked about Vinyl Reckoning, Matt and Stacy. I think they do great work. Any channels at the top of your head like that?
I mean, it'd be easy to plug all my friends, but I really, really, really like PC31, the Vinyl Policeman. Mike, you've
done some videos with him, right?
We've done two. We just did one this week on his channel. He and I finally had a Revolver Super Deluxe discussion. I really like Mike, and what I like about him, I mean, he's a Beatles fan, but he does a whole bunch of other stuff too. But we're both big Beatles fans. He's older than I am, and we have interesting perspectives in that I'm a Beatles fan in Canada, and he's a Beatles fan in England. And there's some interesting differences in terms of what we value as Beatles fans. But
sure.
I really like Mike's channel a lot. Trying to think of some other small ones. I just did a contest the other week or two ago, and the drawing was actually just today. A channel of a guy out in British Columbia called Vinyl Martini. It's a guy by the name of Jack. He's only got like a couple hundred subscribers, but very knowledgeable guy. Nice guy. Check him out.
Nice. All right. Home stretch. Got two more.
All
right. So, and I'm telling on myself here. So in my collection, I have like a Calyx, like a lot of us do, or shelving or whatever.
So do I.
And so one particular square is records that if my house is on fire, natural disaster, the rapture, I don't know, right? You fill in a blank, right? And you can only grab one. I've earmarked, and it's not all of my most expensive stuff. Certainly my Nevermind First Press, my Rodriguez Cold Fact. There's some heat in there, right?
You got an original Rodriguez Cold Fact? So I have a Rodriguez Cold Fact original. Yours is probably American.
I'm sure it is. Oh yeah. It's on the Buddha. I think it's the Buddha label. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't have an original American one, but I have an original South African one.
Oh, is that on the Goose label?
Yeah.
Yep. Nice.
Yeah. That's I've met Rodriguez.
Wow, you met Sixto. Real cool.
I did for about 45 seconds.
Where was this at?
He played at a venue called Center in the Square, which is in Kitchener, Ontario. It's about an hour west of Toronto, and met him at the stage door after a show. Very frail old man, can barely see.
Sure.
But I met him for like 45 seconds.
Man, that's so cool. I wish. So I watched the documentary, as I'm sure you did.
Yep.
And by the time I really got my wits about me, like I think he had already toured off of it. And obviously Missouri, sometimes it's like a touring black hole. Usually they'll just do the coast and maybe some international stuff. So
right.
Yeah, I wish I could have got to see him because like you said, he's obviously, how long ago was that when you saw him?
That would have been maybe 5 years ago.
So he was in that condition 5 years ago. He hasn't passed yet, I'm pretty sure.
No,
but
he's still touring, actually. Wow. He just came through here like within the last year.
Well, I can tell he's never come to St. Louis. so unless I want to get on that the mechanical bird and go somewhere. But yeah, that had to be pretty awesome.
So anyway, records you'd say from
yeah. So sorry, segue. So so I have a little cube. So that's why. So if there is a fire, first thing is my family, my pets. So I want to be very clear. Like records are not the first thing I'm grabbing.
Right.
But if I've got a little bit of wee room before I have to get out of the house for sure, I'm just putting these records under my arm. So what records, and give me like two or three, what record first of all, do you look at it that way? Do you have those somewhere where in a time of peril, you could grab them?
Yeah.
Or
sort of.
So
the way that I have two 2x4 Kallaxes that are laid down on my stair, sits on top of it. And everything's organized alphabetically, except that the Beatles come first. It's Beatles, then A through Z.
Got it.
So the two things that I would grab is I would grab my butcher cover. It's in the first cube. I know where it is, so I can grab it even if the house is full of smoke. And the other thing that I would grab is my 1978 Fender Telecaster.
Oh, okay.
The rest of it, who cares?
That's wild. Good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, there are some other records that are important to me, but if I got
that's where your head would be, like wife, son out of the house,
wife
animals.
and son out of the house, then Telecaster and butcher cover.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, this is how our minds work.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Exactly. This is ours. All right, last one, my friend.
Okay.
And I'm going to borrow this one. Have you seen Ted Lasso?
I've not.
Okay, well, I'm sure you know of Ted Lasso.
I know of.
No spoilers, any of that kind of stuff. But I was at dinner the other day for a work dinner, and my boss was breaking the ice. We just hired somebody new to our team, and I'm borrowing this from him because it's great, but it comes from Ted Lasso, and it's an icebreaker. And so, what was the first concert you went to, and what was the best concert you went to?
First concert I went to was Don McLean.
American Pie guy?
American Pie guy, yeah.
All right.
I was in high school, and he came to the town that I live in, played at the Performing Arts Center. I went with my girlfriend at the time because I had to hear the song American Pie
by the guy. Sure.
Right. Yeah. And it was good. I was just getting into music. I would have been like maybe 15 or 16 at the time. So that would have been like mid-90s. That was the first. And the best concert, holy man, I've been to a ton. The best one is someone no one would have heard of.
Now, hang on. Can I guess? I'm just going to guess. So, Rob, I watch your channel. Is it Blu-ray?
It's not.
Oh.
No. Yeah, no, it's not. So, and I know this guy. We've conversed several times. There's a musician from Eastern Canada out in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia called Adam Baldwin. He's a guitar player.
There's a recent video, I feel like, right?
I've done a couple videos about him.
Okay, yeah. I remember the name.
I love him. He's he's a young guy, but he's very Springsteen-esque. Great rocker. Plays electric guitar for this other incredible Canadian musician, Matt Mays. Anyway, he was opening for another guy named Alan Doyle, who was part of a band called Great Big Sea, they had some success in the U.S., but they're long broken up. Anyway, Center in the Square in Kitchener, which is a performing arts theater, 2,500 people. He was opening for Alan Doyle. And he comes out to this audience of 2,500 people who are not there to see him. I was probably the only one in the audience that, knew who he was because I was a huge fan.
Fanboy. It's all right.
Fanboy.
All right.
Absolutely. Huge fanboy. And I was a fan of Alan Doyle as well. And I've got a friend that plays in his band and whatever else, but love Adam Baldwin. Met him many times. He knows I'm a big fan. Anyway, he comes out on stage, 2,500 people. There's a stool in the middle of the stage. It's just him and an electric guitar. And by the second song, he had that entire audience just eating out of the palm of his hand. It was the most incredible concert experience I've ever seen.
That's awesome.
It was incredible.
Love it.
Power of music.
Hey.
What about you? Your first and best.
Well, it's funny. So, like I said, I'm cheating a little bit because I just had this question at dinner. So, middle school age, grades 5 through 7. Actually, it might have been before that. Technically, see, I don't know. This is a technicality. You remember the movie, The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Love it.
I think it's 91, right?
Are you going to say it was Vanilla Ice?
No. I've seen Vanilla Ice later. Yeah, I saw him when he did his new rock stuff. That's another
nice.
New metal. He did new metal for a minute.
Yeah.
So that movie comes out, and I
need to get to the extreme on vinyl. But anyway.
Well, side note, it's in my want list, but they didn't press it in the States. It's only UK. And whatever, right?
Yep.
That's for everyone at home.
Right.
No, but so 91, whenever that movie came out, they were doing like a live action tour, and that was the first time. Because I was a kid and family friends like, hey, we're taking kids to this concert, Ninja Turtles. The Ninja Turtles concert. All it was like a live stage show and, voice recorded people in suits, whatever.
Right.
So I've always said like, technically, I guess, but real concert, real musicians, real people, nobody in like green suits. I saw Metallica on the Load Tour '96, and it was funny is it was the first time I went to a show. The first time I went to a show, but my mom wasn't with me, and it was me and some buddies, and so we're seniors, juniors in high school, I forget. And my mom was petrified of me being downtown St. Louis without like an adult.
Right.
So she gives me this little pocket pepper spray thing in case things get hairy, right? I'm like, okay, sure. So I put this in my coat. So we go through security and they're like patting you down and they're like, what's this? Is this an inhaler? And listen, I'm a lot of things, but I'm not a liar. And I'm like, no, I think my mom sent me some pepper spray. And they're like, nope. because that could have went really sideways if I had been dishonest. I'd be like, oh yeah, it's an inhaler. Show me, and I could,
sure.
So it could have went sideways, but no, that was my first concert. It was amazing. I mean, one of my favorite bands still to this day.
My wife loves Metallica. She's seen them live.
Oh yeah, I've seen them so many times. They're amazing. So yeah, that was the first one. The best concert. So you like guitar? I'm sure you probably know a guy, Gary Clark Jr.
Absolutely,
guitar player.
Yeah.
So the first time I saw Gary, this is a segue into the actual answer. Bonnaroo 2010, a buddy and I went down, big 4-day music festival in Tennessee. Yep. And my buddy, I'm just be honest, he stepped away. We'd had several libations at that point. It's middle of the day. He had to go relieve himself. So I'm standing at like the emergent artist tent, and I just hear this roar of a guitar. Like it sounded like from another planet, like, and the hell was that? So I kind of ducked my head in, and Gary Clark is playing, right? And this was before he broke big.
Right.
So my buddy finally comes around. We go see this. It blew my mind. And it was so early. We were right on, like, he was playing maybe 150 people. So we're right there. We met him after the show. He, again, couldn't have been nicer. So from that, I've been following Gary's career. So a couple of years ago, I went to San Francisco for my 40th birthday, and we went to a Napa's like wine country, music festival. And it was like a music, food, wine festival. And Gary was playing. But like a lot of artists do when they do these festivals, is they'll play little side gigs while they're in town, right? Smaller venues, whatever. So Gary was playing a very small ballroom, like the night before he was playing the main festival. And it was actually on my birthday. So the morning, I was in San Francisco. I ran the Golden Gate Bridge that morning. Oh, I'm 40, did something, whatever. And then we drove to Napa and went to the show. So we got to see Gary, and he was late for whatever reasons, but he finally played. And so he played till like 1 a.m. or something. And again, right there, seeing this, to me, this master of the guitar. And he's so good. He's a good singer. He's just great. He's a great musician. So that was the best one, namely because I don't think I'll ever be able to get that close to him without like buying a VIP. You know what I mean? Like I've seen him a couple times since, and there's no way I'd get that close. But I even knew, I said, this is probably the last time I'm going to be able to get this close to, because he's just starting to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And he was doing movies. He did the Come Together cover, I think a little bit after, for the Justice League movie. And yeah, so that's what I would say.
Good one.
Cool, man. All right, dude. Well, I know I've really taken more of your time than we talked about, but I think, like I said, it's fun.
I think we should do another one of these days. I'd love to host one on my channel. You and I have a million things we could talk about. Totally. And I think once I get my Bambi legs out, I think we could do these live, because I think, full credit to Rachel, I don't have that skill set, and I may never have it, but to be able to read and react and see the stuff in the comments and all that kind of stuff, it's a special talent. And I've told her privately, I've told her personally, like, you do a great job of it. And so I say the same thing to Glenn when I'm on his. I'm talking, the comments pop up, but I can spend my time reading those, or I can spend my time.
It's tough, even if you're not even running point. Like if you're just part of the dais, like you're talking about, and seeing the comment, it takes some time, just like anything else. So, Rob, buddy, appreciate you for making the time. I'm gonna cut this up. I'm gonna throw it out there, and hopefully more than 7 people watch it.
Let's hope so, man.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Take it easy, pal.
All right, see you.
Bye.
Snap.
And that's a wrap on the big conversation with Rob over at Northern Revolutions. Buddies, what did you think? hopefully you found it worthwhile. Hopefully you made it to the end of both videos. That's so awesome if you did. I really appreciate it. But again, if you're on the sidelines like we were a year ago, thinking about doing this, the most important thing is just to try, get out there. Those first videos are going to be brutal in hindsight, but you just gotta get those reps. You got to get in there and just try. And I think you'll find that the community is very welcoming. There's a lot of great information and making connections. You just can't beat it. It's been obviously one of my favorite parts of the past year is making connections and deeper connections with folks through videos, through the chats, through the comments, all that kind of stuff. So, happy holidays, buddies. I think I got probably one more video to make before the end of the year, but I hope you guys have a fantastic, fantastic holiday season here coming up in the coming weeks. I really appreciate not just you watching the channel, watching these goofy videos, commenting, all that stuff, but I appreciate you, as always, spending your most valuable commodity, your time, investing in these videos, because I invest in making them, and I appreciate when you invest in watching. It means a lot. Anyway, happy holidays. Go get you some records. Go buy some records for other people. And when you get the chance, just spin it. See you soon.
Well, well, well. How the turntables...
Well, we out of time.